is amazing. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's absolutely amazing. I can't believe all the support. I didn't know if I'd win it. I was convinced I'd finish it. I was quite overwhelmed. Like I said, I thought I was going to come in third after Simon and Avalanche. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff to absorb.
Obviously, on approach to Cape Horn, did you expect around Cape Horn first, or did you think Ablash was closing in quite quickly on you?
You know, at one stage he was ahead of me, so I wasn't exactly sure whether he was ahead or behind me. But I know that I got some amazing days of really getting a good day's run. So I thought there was a good chance that I might have passed him. So did I know I was going to be a first round the Horn? I think I did, yeah. At least when I arrived at the Horn, I think I knew that I was first. Yeah.
And then going up the Atlantic, you had to make that decision which route you took.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you took a more easterly route, as you
Yeah.
explained earlier, using ocean passages of the world.
Yeah.
Do you regret that decision?
What I regret is the fact that I started to doubt that decision, and then instead of continuing on the recommended route, I went north and I sailed into the high. I lost 3 days in the high, and I believe, I didn't know it at the time, but I believe that where I crossed the equator, if I had arrived there a few days earlier, the doldrums were pretty narrow, so I might have got through there really quickly. That I regret, because as things go, it cascades into, it just deteriorates into a worse situation. So that I regretted, yeah. But anyway.
But obviously, day-to-day routing, I guess it's just a question of looking at the barometer, looking at the weather, reading the weather, and because you weren't getting much weather facts information.
No, nothing. The last information I got was up to the Falklands, and after that I knew I was going to be without information. And, you know, there's not that much you can read from the barometer and the doldrums. There's nothing that really tells you how long you're going to have to wait. The only indication is maybe a nice big line squall that could bring in the change, or when the wind starts filling in. So that's the difficult thing, is there's no way of knowing. Yeah.
And then obviously once past the doldrums, kind of heading towards the Azores, I guess the race finish was on your mind then, was it?
Yes, it was. I thought I need to try and catch up as best as I can, and then it was good approaching the Azores, because I started picking up weather facts from Germany again, and it helped me. For example, you probably saw how I suddenly diverted east and south of the Azores because I could see the high approaching, and it's little things like that that can make the difference, make it or break it. So yeah, that was really helpful. Yeah.
And just talk to me kind of about your boat husbandry. I mean, you didn't have that many repairs, did you, to make during the way?
No. And that's what Eddie said to me when we were working really hard on the boat, and I was starting to get a little bit of burnout because I was working till 2, 3 in the morning, and he said, remember, what you do now, you're not going to have to do at sea. So I didn't have many repairs. It was a little bit of maintenance here, you know, fix a thing there, end to end a line, you know, fix the Watton Sea bracket, zip tie thing on the hydro vane, but on the whole, no, she was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, is purely down to preparation.
I think so, because we didn't cut corners, we spared no expenses, we got the best material, we put a lot of thought into it all the time. You know, even Eddie, because he was enthused by the project, he'd text me at midnight saying, hey, I've been thinking about this thing, why don't we do it like this, or why don't we use this kind of material, or whatever. So yeah, a lot of thought and care and preparation went into the preparation.
And I guess every day you did a rig check, a deck gear check.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of part of my routine, is have a walk around, check that everything looks normal, no split pins are distorted, you know, feel the rig tension a little by finger. Yeah, just make sure that everything looks the way it should look. So, yeah.
And did you run the engine once a week just to check it, or?
Not that regularly. Once a week, I'd fire it up every now and again, just to make sure that it was running. But I had a lot of faith in the engine because we worked a lot on the engine as well. I would say it was probably more like once every second week or so. And if Eddie said, I trusted him, and he said, oh, don't worry about firing it up every week, probably not worth it. So, yeah.
And what was for you the lowest point in the race?
The doldrums on the return. That was low for me.
And the highest point?
That's a more difficult question because I had quite a lot of high points. Like being becalmed off Cape Town on the one hand was frustrating, but I had whales all around me. I had dolphins, I had seals, and the beautiful backdrop of the mountain. Discovering islands purely by celestial navigation, I got a kick out of that every single time. Rounding the Horn and talking to that incredibly nice lighthouse keeper. He was just so sweet. And then passing the Falklands and knowing that the Falkland Islanders were going to come out and see me without having had any communication with them. Those were just things that filled me with a lot of joy. So.
And what was your worst storm, and what tactics did you use to get through it?
The worst storm was in the southern Pacific. I don't know, quite a distance still from the Horn, but that's quite interesting because just before my spinnaker pole, my second spinnaker, one of my two poles broke, and I used them for my twin sail rig, and I would have been going south very quickly if I hadn't broken that pole, and I don't think I would have been able to as effectively get away from the storm. So tactic first was, once I knew that the storm was coming, was head north as quickly as possible. And then once the storm arrived, I was trailing warp behind the boat, but in a bight, and the bight was about 70 meters, which means I had a grand total of 140 meters of warp deployed off the stern, but running through big snatch blocks. And it worked beautifully. Nothing got damaged. The boat was under control. Well, I say nothing got damaged. The hydrovane bracket, not the Watton Sea bracket broke, and the hydrovane had a brief little moment of instability there. But I had no major damage, nothing that I couldn't repair. So that worked. Yeah.
And if you were to do the race again, what would you do differently?
I would have the reefing points on the main such that the boom gets raised higher when I reef, because that was a problem with the boom touching the water. I had quite a few ideas of little things that I do differently, but now they elude me. That was one of the main things. Not a lot, really, though, to be honest. For the most part, I was happy with the boat and how things were rigged, and the running rigging and all that. I'd have it exactly the same way again. So yeah.
And you mentioned what the advice was for the 2026 skippers that you gave, which is basically know your boat inside out. How important was that for you for this race?
Paramount. It was very important. Firstly, even if things didn't break, the fact is I knew the work we'd done, and I had that peace of mind. Also, I knew where to check if something didn't look right, because I know this boat so intimately. Like I was saying, I know every nut bolt on the boat, and I think that's incredibly important. But also, the sea time before the race, because that gave me an opportunity to find out all the particulars and peculiarities of this boat. So, and that was important. It helped me.
And what is next for you? What's next for the boat?
That is to be determined. I really don't know. I'd like to get the boat in good condition, because I feel like I owe it to the boat.
It looks really good, though.
Yes.
I'm quite impressed how good she looks.
Yeah, it's small little things. It's like there's a loose bolt there which I need to replace, or there's a thread that's stripped, or it's all small things, barring apart from the bowsprit problem, which is a little bit bigger a problem. But for the most part, it's small little tweaks or little improvements, little more luxury improvements than actual necessities. But yeah.
You decided to sail more conservatively because of that.
And that didn't last long, that
Okay.
decision. So I got quite, once I realized that nothing was moving, I just gave it all I could again. Pushed it quite hard, harder actually in these last days than most of the time.